As soon as the veto message was released, I put out a statement myself which expressed my disappointment solely on policy grounds. That is where I remain, on policy grounds, because I felt from the beginning, as did most of us, the very grand majority of us in this chamber, that this bill was good policy. I still do, and I would like to detail the reasons for that. I believe that education, and I am not an educator, I believe that education is an area that demands some very precise experience and expertise. It's a complicated business. It involves teachers, administrators, higher up administrators, even higher up administrators than that, staff, specialized aides. It involves parents, and it involves students. And all of this in many, many different contexts. A commissioner, rather than having to deal with one single district, must be competent in understanding all of those different contexts. Urban school districts, rural school districts, affluent ones, economically disadvantaged ones, diverse ones, non-diverse districts. Commissioners got to be cognizant of all those things, and what it's like to work in one, and what it's like to be a child in one, and what it's like to send a child to school in one. It's very, very specialized. And I think if you're going to implement policy about questions as critical as how children must learn and how they learn it, how to eliminate illiteracy, how to assess students' progress, and how to evaluate the people who are teaching them, you need to have been directly involved in those areas yourself, at least at some point. Now, this bill detailed 3 requirements: a master's degree in an education-related field, 5 years of teaching experience in a classroom, and 3 years of administrative experience as an administrator of unspecified type. I would agree with anyone who says that an education commissioner, or a commissioner of anything else in this state for that matter, must be a strong manager. But coupled with that management experience, I believe that that person ought to have a thorough understanding of the education field. I came from the corporate world before I had the honor of being elected to this General Assembly. And I had a number of experiences where I worked for a company that was in a particular field, and they thought they were doing a great thing by bringing in some stellar and media-friendly manager from some other field who came in as CEO and was going to work wonders and miracles. On the occasions when that person didn't understand the industry that that company was involved in, it never worked. It could even be embarrassing sometimes, because there is a certain intimacy with a field and what happens in the people that work in it. It's necessary. There are a number of things that this bill does not require, and I think those are important to understand as we look at what the requirements actually are. And before I detail those, I want to commend the chairs and the other members of the Education Committee for the consideration that was given to the language in this bill, because it is not extremely limiting. This bill does not limit the experience as a teacher or as an administrator to experience in a public school. It does not limit that experience to experience in the state of Connecticut, or even to the United States of America, for that matter. It requires 8 years of experience. Before I came to this General Assembly, I had 26 years of corporate experience. A lot of people in this room have 30, 35 years of experience. 8 years gives you time to have had a second career or even a third on top of being a teacher and an administrator. It opens the door, to use an expression from the Veto message, to a wide variety of experience that could be very useful to a commissioner. It does not limit the administrative experience to that of a superintendent. Administrative experience can be a principal, and as the good chair of the Education Committee mentioned, you can do wide readings or narrow readings, but frankly, this doesn't limit administrative experience to K-12 schools. We have a vast higher education system in this state and in this country. It doesn't limit knowledge or education to background in K-12. It's very, very broad. In his veto message, the governor mentions the importance of open-mindedness and flexibility. I couldn't agree more. And this bill is structured to allow anyone who is considered as commissioner to have all the open-mindedness and flexibility that comes from a broad career, a career that is not necessarily focused on public education if that's required, a career that might come from a charter school, from a magnet school, from an alternative school, or from an exclusive boarding school or university. I believe also, in looking at the veto message, the governor has made the point that by so limiting the qualifications through experience, that this might reduce the opportunities of women or minorities to become commissioner. Because in Connecticut, there are very few, for example, women superintendents. This bill allows anyone from anywhere in the world to be hired for this job. This bill allows anyone with experience in any field to be hired for this job. And finally, the governor speaks in his veto message about the ability of the legislature to confirm or deny his proposal of an appointment, his or any other governor's. And again, I agree that checks and balances are important. And this bill strikes, in my view, an excellent balance between minimal but necessary qualifications and breadth and open-mindedness and diversity of experience that could be beneficial to us all in this area that many of us in this chamber have called the absolutely most important issue today in the state of Connecticut. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I continue to support the bill. I thank you for this opportunity to speak on it.